You're live, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We have returned. Council has come back from recess. It is now 6:31 p.m. This is Monday, October the 4th, and we are holding our council meeting. We only have the public meeting portion of our meeting to do next. It is item number 6, public meetings, and as is our procedure, we ask our deputy mayor to chair the public meeting portion. So at this time, I'll turn the chair over to the deputy mayor. Deputy Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate that. So to start our public meeting, we will now initiate the public meeting portion of tonight's agenda. We thank everyone who provided written comments ahead of tonight's public meeting. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Corporation of the Township of Clearview on an application being discussed this evening, please contact the Planning Department in charge of the file. This information will be provided in the presentation. As identified in the notice of public meeting, please be advised that your written comments or requests to be notified will form part of the public record. Your communication and any personal information therein will be made available to the public unless you expressly request its removal. If a person or public body does not make written submission to the township with respect to the proposed applications before a decision is made or a bylaw is passed, they are not entitled to appeal the decision to the local appeal tribunal and may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The following public meeting will involve a brief presentation by our planning staff, including a brief explanation of the written comments received, an opportunity for the applicant or their agent to present their application and respond to written comments, and an opportunity for questions by council. We will now begin the public meeting with respect to file number. You gotta look up the file number here. It is file number 2021-069-ZB. It's 334134 Side Road. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Ainley, who is our staff person looking after this file. Go ahead, Nick, it's yours.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Burton. So that summed up pretty well. So my name is Nick Ainley. I'm a community planner here at the Township of Clearview. I'm here tonight to facilitate the public meeting component for zoning bylaw limit 2021-069-ZB. I'm just going to pull up the presentation. You bear one moment. Is everyone able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So just before I jump in, I understand that the applicant as well as their agent is also in attendance tonight, and I believe they have a PowerPoint presentation they like to provide after, but I'll start off, and then following both presentations, myself as well as the applicant, their agent, will be available for any comments from council. So that said, the subject lands, as indicated, are located, subject to the current rezoning, are located at 334134 Side Road, Sunnydale, in the Township of Clearview. So in terms of the proposal itself, so the applicant has applied to amend a portion of the subject land's existing environmental protection or EP zone to a rural RU zone. The application would result in the expansion of the subject land's existing rural zone limits on the property, increasing the size of potential building, increasing the size of potential building envelope on the site on the subject lands. So the subject lands, as indicated before, located 334134 Side Road, Sunnydale. So they're located just south of 34 Side Road and Concession 2 intersection, and located just north of Hogback Road. So this is located in the southern southeastern portion of the township. In terms of the subject lands themselves, this is an aerial imagery of the property. So the subject lands are outlined in red here, as you can see. The subject lands are approximately 15.5 hectares in size. They've maintained approximately 170 meters of frontage on the 34 Side Road. So the subject lands, as you can see, are kind of wholly treed. It's all forested area. The subject lands are primarily zoned as environmental protection at this moment. So all lands here, as well as the lands hatched in purple. The subject lands are currently zoned rural at the front of the property, and it's kind of a regular shape. And this is the portion of the property the applicants are seeking to rezone from rural to environmental protection. So in terms of existing policy framework, the Township of Clearview's official plan currently designates the subject lands as rural, Greenland Natural Heritage Area, as well as Greenland Wetland Area. And the Township zoning bylaws indicated is zoned, a portion of it is rural, but it's primarily zoned as environmental protection, the majority of the property. Just to note, the subject lands are also designated as Greenland within the County of Simcoe official plan and are also wholly regulated by the NVCA, or the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. So in terms of the official plan mapping, so it's just a snapshot of the township's OP mapping. So you can see, again, property outlined right here. So the majority of the site is designated as Greenland wetland area at the rear of the site. Some of it is zoned as Greenland Natural Heritage Area in green here, with the front portion in the tan color be designated as rural. And zoning, I know we kind of discussed this a little bit more, but I took the hatching off the proposed severed area, so you can see, you know, a significant portion of the site is zoned as EP at this moment, with just the front portion of the property zoned as rural. So in terms of notice and circulation, so notice has been given in accordance with the Planning Act, the zoning bylaw amendment. This was done on September 14th, 2021. Via a mailing to all properties within 120 meters of the subject site, as well as a posting of a sign on the property. Details of the application supporting materials have been made available to the public and have also been circulated to relevant commenting agencies. Again, so it's just a circulation map just showing which properties were provided with mailing notification. So all properties in the tan or yellow receive mailing notification. So in terms of the components of our public comments, so comments that have been received regards to the current application will be read and summarized by myself tonight. And then I can confirm that comments received have been circulated to council as well as the owner in advance of the public meeting. So that said, before I jump into it, we didn't receive any comments from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, but I just want to advise that the municipality is currently working with the NVCA as they are peer reviewing the environmental submission by the applicant. So I think they need a little more time to provide their formal comments, but they are pending. They're just not here tonight. That said, we did receive some comments from the County of Simcoe. So on August 26th, as a part of the initial circulation submission material to the county as well as the NVCA, they advised that they thanked municipal staff for circulating material, and they indicated that the county staff understand the applicant is seeking to establish a larger building envelope on the subject lands to facilitate the construction of a single attached dwelling, as well as potentially create a new residential lot on the site. They go on to state that the subject lands are wholly designated as Greenlands on Schedule 5.1 of the County of Simcoe official plan. And they also note that residential dwelling units on lots which were approved prior to May 9, 2016 may be permitted in the Greenlands designation according to section 3.8.15 of the county OP. The township should satisfy itself that the proposed ZBA, or zoning bylaw amendment application, and the proposed building envelope can be justified in accordance with the applicable natural heritage policies of the Growth Plan 2020, as well as the Provincial Policy Statement 2020. And they go on to state that as it relates to potential lot creation of the subject lands, it should be noted that lot creation is not permitted for any purpose within the Greenlands designation. Even if refinement of the Greenlands designation can be justified, changing the designation to a rural designation with the county OP, county planning staff would be unable to support the proposal to create a new lot on subject lands as a result in or exacerbate the condition of strip development, which should be more than 3 non-farm lots within 200 meters of each other. So that was in August 26th as part of initial circulation, and then county Simcoe staff provided some additional comments today on October 4th, just advising that county planning staff have no further comments with respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment for the property. They also asked that when comments are received from the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, that they please be forwarded to the county for records. And then if a decision is being made at the public meeting tonight, that they please circulate them to the county as well. So those are all the comments that have been received for this application prior to tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Nick. And I understand that the Marissa Hanley is
so
available, and she. Yeah.
Sorry, I just have one more slide to go, just to kind of give you a bit of an overview of the review process. So tonight's public meeting, we're going to gain input from members of the public as well as members of council. So staff will consider all comments that receive to date, as well as review all submission materials, and then we'll follow up with a recommendation report back to council at a subsequent council meeting. Council can choose to approve or deny that application, and then following that decision, there's a 20-day appeal period. If no appeal is received, the decision becomes final and is in full force and effect. And if anyone has any questions or would like to get in contact with me about it, this is my contact information for the municipalities. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. And as I tried to say earlier, I believe Marissa, is she Madam Clerk, is she screen available for her presentation?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Burton. I am just promoting Samantha Anderson from Skelton Brumwell into the session. I know that Michael Winia is also present from Skelton Brumwell today, and as well as the applicant Frank Renz. So just bear with me as I bring Samantha into the meeting.
So it's not Marissa that my record show it was going to be.
Through to the chair, if I may, this is Michael Winia. Unfortunately, Marissa is unable to join us this evening for reasons beyond her control. And we just learned of that this afternoon, so I apologize. We are, however, prepared to proceed with the presentation.
So I believe that's Samantha Anderson then who's going to be doing the presentation. Is that correct?
Actually, I'll probably do the presentation this evening, just because of the circumstances that arose, and I've been working on the file and I'm quite familiar with it.
Okay, okay, Mr. Winia, then go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Winia, would you like me to share your presentation, or would you like to?
If you could share the presentation, that would be fine. And I can just ask, if possible, if you can advance the slides accordingly. I will try to keep the presentation brief, as I know the applicant wishes to address council on the application as well. And the township planner presented much of the material that's actually in our presentation as well. We could advance to the next slide, please. The subject lands, as indicated, are 334134 Side Road in Clearview. And as indicated, they're approximately 15 hectares in size. As indicated in the planning submission, the lands are currently vacant as well. And we were retained by the landowner to look at the possibility of establishing a more significant building envelope along the frontage. And our primary focus there was on the environmental and natural heritage features of the property, relative to the extent of the EP zone in comparison to the rural designation on the property, which extends further into the property. We could advance to the next slide. Surrounding land uses are fairly rural in nature. There are some agricultural lands to the northwest of the property, but the balance consists largely of rural, large rural lots developed for rural residential purposes, and quite a bit of open space lands as well. So to the north, we have rural and environmental protection designated lands, as well as single detached residential dwellings. To the east, we have rural and environmental protection designated lands, as well as single detached dwellings. To the south, pretty much the same. And to the west, also the same, although as I say, to the northwest, there are agricultural lands, and immediately to the west, there's an agroforestry operation. And we can advance to the next slide. So as I pointed out, the description of the application is basically to effectively correct the zoning to match up with the designation in the official plan. However, rather than relying solely on the designation in the official plan and the extent of the rural designation, a natural heritage assessment was prepared, looking at all of the relevant factors in terms of the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, in terms of justifying that adjustment to the EP line. Next slide, please. Well, I should clarify as well that this there was reference in the public comments received to the potential for further application for the creation of a building envelope. That is not part of the current submissions. The current submission is dealing strictly with the zoning on the land relative to the extent of a rural zone envelope and what would be appropriate there. In terms of the environmental impact study, we did confirm the presence of wetlands towards a large portion of the rear portion of the property, as well as an appropriate wetland buffer to deal with those issues. We also identified various other natural heritage features that are basically captured in all of that. As well, there was a raptor nest located, which requires a 100-meter buffer. This is illustrated on the drawing. And that resulted in an approximate building envelope being identified with a depth at the north end of the property of 125 meters and at the south of 175 meters. It was our opinion, based upon all the relevant environmental and natural heritage data and the relevant policies, that that building envelope was appropriate and would appropriately reflect the rural nature of the lands and appropriately be zoned as rural, as well as rather than EP, which extends over much of it at this point in time. The next slide, please. So we were also asked at the time that we submitted the application by the municipality to consider the agricultural aspects, because we're proposing that the rural designation apply and the rural zone apply to its full extent. And part of that consideration would also involve looking at agricultural lands. The properties is not within the agricultural mapping that the province has provided in terms of prime agricultural lands. It's not in the prime agricultural lands, nor is it candidate prime agricultural lands. So it is most appropriately designated in zone rural. We've also looked at, although there's not a particular lot creation proposal at this time, or even a building permit at this time, we also conducted a review of MDS applicability, minimum distance separation for agricultural uses, and there are no livestock structures requiring such an analysis in proximity of the building. So they're basically, the summary of that is there are no agricultural issues related to this application. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, it's our professional opinion that the amendment, which is effectively a correction to the bylaw and a refinement of the zoning bylaw in terms of the extent of the EP lands, is appropriate, and that rural development should be permitted in accordance with the designation. The zoning is effectively a minor change and does not have any effect on the surrounding land uses. We've also indicated that the natural heritage study indicates that there would be no negative impact on natural heritage features as a result of the identification of the building envelope. There's sufficient buffer put in place. In fact, a very generous buffer relative to plain and wetland complex. That buffer may be able to be reduced simply for the purposes of wetland buffers. However, because of the other features in that area, we did feel that 120-meter buffer was appropriate. And again, that's reflected within that and captured within that buffer. The zoning bylaw amendment requested will not impact significant environmental features or functions of the subject land. It's our opinion that the zoning bylaw amendment is consistent with and conforms to the provincial policy statement in the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. It also conforms to the policy directions of the county's simple official plan and the Clearview official plan. And the proposed development conforms to the intent of the zoning bylaw and represents a mapping correction to appropriately reflect the applicable lands and designations that already apply to the properties. The zoning bylaw is consistent with and compatible with adjacent properties, and the proposed identification of the building envelope in the rural setting maintains a rural character for the Township of Clearview, and again, appropriately protects natural heritage features and has no impact on agriculture. We would be pleased to answer any questions. However, I did note that the applicant is also attending the meeting and may wish to provide some brief comments.
So if the applicant is, I believe he wanted to speak, that would be Mr. Rentz, or can you unmute yourself, Mr. Rentz, and then you wanted to make some comments? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good evening.
Yes, go ahead. There was no audio coming through. No. Could you wave your hand, please, sir? Either that or your video is frozen. It looks like your video has frozen. Can I suggest you turn your video off and just leave your audio on?
Through to the chair, I know the applicant is actually not reply at this point in time. He's in a different area, and his internet connection may be potentially problematic.
Yes, Madam Clerk, is there anything we can do to assist the applicant to speak? Maybe just put him on audio rather than video as well.
Mr. Renz has already stopped his video. He's still on audio. Mr. Renz, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so please proceed just with the audio, Mr. Rentz.
I apologize. We have very poor internet this evening, like normal.
Right. Please proceed. Mr. Rentz, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you please proceed?
I'm sorry, it's very broken up this evening.
Okay.
Perhaps he could phone in from a landline.
Madam Clerk, how would we go about doing that?
I can send an email to Mr. Renz with the phone number to phone in if he would like to do that.
I'm not sure if you can hear me,
We will
Mr.
try
Rentz.
that, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I would suggest, Deputy Mayor Burton, that we recess for 5 minutes for me to be able to facilitate Mr. Renz on the telephone, and then we can come back maybe at 7 o'clock.
Okay, I'm going to call a 5-minute recess then. It is now 5 to 7. I'll call a 5-minute recess. Thank you.
Thank you.